The movie viewing experience for Cocaine Bear was like Megan 2.0. In other words, I loved it. As soon as I heard about this movie, I was like, that's insane. What a crazy title. What a crazy concept. And then, of course, as we're told, it's inspired by true events. The only thing that was true about this movie was that there were drugs that fell from a plane or were dropped from a plane, thrown out of a plane, and a bear ingested them. In true life, the bear died right away, from what I understand, pretty quickly. But Elizabeth Banks, or whoever wrote, no, it was not Elizabeth Banks that wrote the story. She directed this movie, and I have to say she did a fantastic job. She was really good at direction for this film. The comedic timing and the dialogue and the acting, it was put together so well. But what I was getting ready to say is the people that created this story took some extensive liberties with the true life event that inspired this movie, and it was a fantastically hilarious and fun time at the movies watching this. It was bittersweet to see Ray Liotta. This was probably his last full film. From what I understand, when he passed away, he was in the middle of filming a movie. This might have been, I'm guessing, his last completed film. I don't know, I might be wrong. At the end, it does have a dedicated type of dedicated to or whatever in memory of sort of thing to him. It takes some actual footage from the event of when the drugs were found or were dropped all over this place. No, we're not necessarily, I don't know how much were found, but anyway. So it incorporates real footage from the 1980s, as well as the just say no to drugs sort of thing, because this is all about drugs, this bear getting freakishly high on cocaine. So that was kind of interesting. I also liked that this story has many characters in it. It takes place in this forest area, and it follows the stories of multiple groups of people. And at different points in the story, these people's paths connect, and the progression of the story was...
She's got something.
Oh my gosh, and she's making noise while I'm trying to record.
She's got something in her mouth.
Tifa?
Okay, Tifa, what do you have in your mouth?
What was I saying? Oh, I was saying that I felt like the progression of the story was handled very well. The different people that it followed, I like, it felt like they each got sufficient screen time. The way things carried on made sense to me. The timing was done very well. This movie was not very long. It was only about an hour and 35 minutes. It felt like it was longer, not because it felt like it was overstaying its welcome, but because there was a whole lot of story they were telling. The concept is very simple. This bear goes on a killing rampage because it's high as can be on cocaine, and there are people that get caught in the bear's crosshairs because this bear doesn't want anything to come between it and a brick of cocaine. And I have to say, this movie is extremely violent, but it's so funny, and it is able to pull off convincing, like, let's say maybe scary factor because the bear is frightening, and yet at the same time it cleverly balances that with humor, and not goofy, ridiculous humor, but really funny situational humor. Sometimes it verges a bit on slapsticky type of humor, but it was done so well. It didn't come across as goofy or ridiculous or stupid. It was funny. It was so, like, horrific scenes, and it was making me laugh. Like, I kid you not, there's a scene where a body falls from a tree and then a leg falls right after it, and it was hilarious. I mean, it was awful what happened to this person, but the way it played out was so funny. It reminded me of the humor in the movie In Bruges, where there would be this life and death stuff that was happening, violence that was going on, but the way the story was told, it balanced it all perfectly. You found yourself laughing at moments where it shouldn't be funny, but at the same time, it didn't feel like a goofy comedy. It felt like this was really serious stuff that was happening, and you could appreciate the seriousness of it and be drawn into the danger. But at the same time, these moments of crazy comedic levity was just handled so well. And I appreciated the heck out of this film. I really did. I mean, I figured that I was going to like it. I just kind of had this feeling based on the trailers that I had seen, because I couldn't avoid the trailers in the theater, and it wasn't like I was actively trying to avoid it. I just hadn't watched the trailers yet. I had toyed with the idea of doing a reaction to them, but I never got around to it. But then when I finally did see the trailer, I was like, you know what? As crazy as this concept sounds, as ridiculous as the title of this movie sounds, this actually looks really good. It looks like it could be really good, really fun. And it was. The dialogue in here was so funny. Some of the characters that, like the little side characters that were tagging along for the ride, they were just so funny. The park ranger story was really funny. Oh my gosh. Some of the deaths in here were so funny. And it's like, how is it that some movies can pull this off so well and other movies just can't? It just falls so flat. It is weird. It's really, I don't know what the magic is. I just know it when I see it. I know that it's been done well. And this movie did that very well, and kudos to Elizabeth Banks. She does know how to tell a fun story. I know she directed that Charlie's Angels movie that I had absolutely zero desire to see, but wow, what a contrast. Because I definitely wanted to see this, and there was no messaging, no agenda stuff, no nothing. It was just a fun, fantastic ride. Oh, I forgot, there was one tiny moment in this movie that I guess if you want to read something into it, you could, but it was a little quip about feminism, but not in the way that you think, which I felt was kind of funny coming from Elizabeth Banks and the whole mess behind Charlie's Angels. You'll know it when you see it. It wasn't anything. It was just like something thrown out there, and I thought it was kind of funny. But as a whole, the film, it was not any, there was no sort of, like I said, no sort of agenda, no sort of messaging, no sort of nothing like that. Just a good time. Okay, back to the video. And I would not mind watching this again. I would not mind adding this to my collection. It was something that, it wasn't like it was the deepest movie you've ever seen. You know, it wasn't like something that was just really psychologically deep, you know, like let's say Luther. Sorry, I saw Luther at this right after I saw this movie, so that's on my brain. But what I was trying to say was not something that's psychologically deep, like let's say Joker. That's what I was meaning to say. But it's also not something that's superficial enough that it makes you not care about the characters. You do feel this connection with certain characters. They do feel like they're fleshed out well enough for you to appreciate them and to care what happens to them, even some of the side characters. And it did a good job. I mean, I really, really like this movie, if you can't tell. And it reminded me of not only Megan, the enjoyment factor of Megan, and Megan had a totally different sort of tone. There were some comedic moments in Megan, but it reminded, the enjoyment factor reminded me of that. Also, the enjoyment factor of the movie Plane. You know, that Megan and Plane, both of those films look like movies that'd be like, meh, just kind of, I've seen that, done that. Doesn't look like it's going to be anything special. But then when you watch it, it's like, wow, this is actually pretty fun. This is decent. I'm so pleased with the fact that this was enjoyable. And I think that probably most people will feel that way. And I hope that if you guys end up taking the time to go see it, that you will enjoy it just as much as I did. I'm sure there's going to be people that are like, this is the dumbest thing. I've already seen some stuff on Twitter, you know, sort of taking this movie to task because it's glorifying drug use. Not really. It's not really glorifying drug use at all. I mean, it does. There is some comedy there. There is definitely some comedy that's injected into the messaging about drugs, but it's not necessarily something that's glorifying it or making you feel like, yeah, that's something I want to try and I want to do. Not really. I didn't get that at all. This is just a fun film, very simple but very effective, and I really liked it. I would give this, I haven't rated it yet on Letterboxd, but my plans are to give it a 4 out of 5. That's how much I enjoyed it. So yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys about it. I've been looking forward to watching this film for a while. As soon as the tickets went on sale, I bought myself a ticket and gave my thumbs up to Arturo. He's planning to go see it at some point with some friends. I think he'll enjoy it too. Oh my gosh, some of the stuff in here. This couple would be, oh my gosh, this movie. Oh, and another thing that I really thought was cool and I liked was that the score, some of the score that you heard throughout the film definitely had that 80s synth sort of vibe, because this takes place in the 80s. This real event, I think, happened in 1985. And so that's when this story takes place. Also, if you go to see it, make sure you stick around for some mid-credit scenes. There are 2 of them. There's nothing at the end. I didn't stay to the end, but I did look up online to verify that there was nothing at the end. So I'm going to say that I don't think there's anything at the end, but I did see confirmation that I saw also with my own eyes that there are at least 2 mid-credit scenes, and they're worth sticking around for. So anyway, that's all I can think of to say for Cocaine Bear. Like I said, it's not anything that's super in-depth, but it was a heck of a lot of fun. And I am really curious to find out what you guys think of it whenever you get around to seeing it. I think word of mouth is going to help this movie. Just the concept itself, I think was something that's enough of a draw for people to come to just like Pooh, Blood and Honey. The concept, the whole idea of that was what pulled people there, their interest. The difference with that movie and like something like this is that Pooh, Blood and Honey was a terrible film. This is not. The concept is crazy and out there, but in the case of this movie, the interest in checking it out, just because the whole idea seems so out there, you get a payoff for it. So yeah, enjoyed the heck out of this film, and let me know what you guys think whenever you get around to seeing it. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up because I got to do a review for Luther now, and I've got a lot in my brain. Got to think about how to express my thoughts on that movie, because that was a whole other experience. Not necessarily in a bad way, just a completely different film, 2 completely different tones. Okay, that's it for this one, you guys. Hasta luego.